We used to have an old friend back in the day, our little circle of friends, right? We all had that one friend who was the pig pen of the group. This dude always came out dirty. He always came out stinking, right? And we always used to be like, ban it, ban, 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 ban it, ban, 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 ban it, ban, ban, ban it, ban. You need a shower. Fans from like back in the day of that hip house thing, you might remember there was an old song called I Got the Power. And it reminds me of that because we're talking about He-Man here, right? I got the power. So please stay off my back or I will attack. And you don't want that. Shit was so corny. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to talk about this other new He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series that's on Netflix. The other one is Masters of the Universe Revelation by the liar Kevin Smith. This one is different. This is actually He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and it's not, there's a difference, guys. There's a difference between a reboot and a reimagining, okay? Now that I've seen it, I realize this is a perfect example of a reimagining, not a reboot. Okay, so that's the difference. So let's break this shit down. This is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. Now, guys, you might remember a couple of days ago, I read like a program description or a character description of this show, and I wasn't really impressed. As usual, marketing doesn't really do a good job of showing you what it is that you're going to actually be experiencing when you watch these shows, okay? So I figured, you know what? Yeah, let me go on and take a peek at this thing, because I, watched the other one and the other one was just dog shit, you know what I mean? So I'm like, let me see if they did anything better in this one. And the good news is, guys, they did. If you're looking for a show that you can sit down and watch with the kids and it's not jam-packed with a bunch of questionable shit and, SJW isms and stuff like that, this is probably as good as it's going to get these days. This is just straightforward, just action, adventure. It's an absolute reimagining of what we remember. But of course, if you want to expose your children to the, to the source material, to the classic, then, I would assume that you have ways to be able to do that, to show them the original. It reminds me of what I do with my son with hip hop, being that I grew up a hip hop head. I show him a lot of shit and I like expose him to stuff that came out like back in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s and stuff like that. And he's got a healthy appreciation for all of it, the mumble rap, he calls dumb rap. He's really not into that shit too much, you know what I mean? But he really does love the foundation and everything. So in much the same way, you look at a lot of our science fiction and science fantasy, and it's really up to us, as parents, as aunts and uncles, as friends, whatever, to expose these children to where it all came from, okay? So this He-Man in the Masters of the Universe, not Revelations. All right, this was done by Rob David and Jeff Matsuda, I think it is. And you can tell that these guys really wanted to do something that appealed to everybody, to all age groups. Like with Kevin Smith, and I'm going to do a lot of compare and contrast here. It's like there was a lot of that Ryan Johnson way of doing things, the subversion of expectations, the bullshit where you took it upon yourself to put something in the old fans' face to challenge them. And if they didn't like it, then, here's this super fan, Kevin Smith. Now all of a sudden he's attacking people because he fucking lied. You're the one that lied. What are you attacking people for? But we've been down that road before. What we have here with this reimagining, like I said, this is something that is very clearly geared towards a new generation. And also it's something that, like I said, you can experience this with them. It reminds me of, what was it? Ninjago. I used to watch Ninjago with my son, like way back in the day. And we both had a great time watching that. Was it epic? Was it all this, and all, I mean, maybe for him it will be, but, of course, for us, who have grown up on far better, it was okay. And I did enjoy watching it with him and we had some great memories with it. It didn't offend me. This is kind of the same way. He-Man now is more of an ensemble. It's more of a we have the power type thing. You know what I mean? Like you have a bunch of people on their path to their own destiny and they work together. And that's actually refreshing because you do have women who are on the show who are not concerned with just like squashing the men, like they're on their own path. This is true. There's a lot that young girls can hook onto here. There's a lot that young boys can, and it's just a fun ride. That's all it is. And yes, you are going to see reimaginings. So you have Tila, who is now a black girl, but she's still a better written character on this show than the selfish little twat that we have on Kevin Smith's show. This one is more fun. She gets to her path a lot quicker. Like, you see where she's going, and she still remains loyal to Adam, who doesn't really know who he is. By the way, he's lost his memory. He doesn't really have that connection to his past. So when he stumbles upon, the sword and he becomes He-Man, by accident, it's kind of bringing him a little bit closer, to his destiny. But he just doesn't understand where he fits in all of this, but he just knows that it feels right, and that's another thing this one does very well. It keeps He-Man at the center of things. He didn't get shanked, in other words, not once, but twice, in this one. He didn't, he's in every episode. He's at the center of every episode. Skeletor, he is Prince Adam's uncle, and both of them are believed to be dead by the king. So, they don't know, like, they don't have that connection, in other words, but they're slowly moving towards that. Orko is a delusional robot, in this iteration. Man-at-Arms, I mean, they're all young. They're all like teenagers and stuff, and they're moving into their destiny. But Skeletor, like I said before, you see a little bit of his origin in here as well. And no, everything is not a mirror image of what we know from the old Filmation episodes and stuff. Like I said, it is, after all, a reimagining. But once again, it is fun. And I guess that's the takeaway from this. It's fun and it's surprisingly well written. The characters are likable. There's not like a whole lot of annoying shit that's going on here. For some reason, when I was watching that Kevin Smith iteration, of He-Man, I was just pissed, by the end. And you guys saw the video, you saw the rant, I was fucking pissed. All right. And I was just mad for, by the time I got done, I was in a bad mood and all this. With this, it was actually fun, so I'm not offended by this. Like I said before, if you're the type to watch, entertainment or cartoons or whatever, this is a fun one to watch with your kids. And let me just read something that the creator said here that shows me that he gets it. Okay. So he's talking about, number one, how this is something he's been wanting to do for a very, very long time, to do this reimagining. He's very, very passionate about it. And he's talking about the appeal across all ages, because he's not going to fall back on this is just for kids. He's talking about maybe this appeals to the kid in you. And as far as I know, he's one of the first people who actually acknowledged that grown men and women do still have a kid in them. That's something that Walt Disney used to get. That's something that Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey used to get. That's something that Jim Henson used to get. When they create these things that appeal to kids, they do say children of all ages. They do understand that sometimes there is that kid that's stronger in some of us than it is in others. I remember one time I got a birthday card for my brother, may he rest in peace. And it says something like, we may get old, but we'll never grow up, and that's how we always felt. That's the way I will always feel, Yeah, there's no denying the old grays are coming in and everything, but I damn sure did sit down and watch this and enjoy it, So Rob David, the producer, creator of this show, says, I guess he says, let me see. Okay, so the question here is, for longtime Masters of the Universe fans out there, they just had a taste of Revelation, which I couldn't stop raving about. Okay, well, listen, there's no accounting for taste, all right? Whoever's interviewing, he sounds like a fucking shill, but okay. But what should excite them about this retelling of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe? Rob Davis said, well, I think they're going to have, hopefully, an amazing experience watching this with their kids, or just on their own, if they're kids at heart. I love that. I love that. The great way to look at Masters of the Universe is that it's really a multiverse, and that both these series, as well as the original Filmation cartoon, as well as the mini comics, as well as the shows that haven't come out yet, that will come out in 15 years from now, they all exist coexist equally in the multiverse that is Masters of the Universe. So I think knowing that a fan of the original can sit down and say, hey, this show at its core is so Masters of the Universe. I'm telling you right now, it was very important to me that every part of this resonates with Masters in a different way. And even if things change, to move things around so that it's truly at its core Masters, but completely all new, completely fresh. So if you're an old time fan, you might enjoy this kind of dual experience where you're like, oh my God, they're doing this thing. Oh my God, they're doing this. They're going to talk about Keldor. They're doing this. They're talking about this. But at the same time, I don't have any idea where it's going next. If you're an old time fan, this is kind of being 5 again. And I agree with that. I agree 100%. If that's what he was aiming for, then you hit the target, my friend. Will this be good for everybody? Of course not. You know, everybody's got their own individual taste. That's something that we would do well to remember these days. Everyone has their own mind. Everyone is unique, and everyone can have their own take. So no, I'm not going to say this is just going to be great for everybody, but I do appreciate where he was coming from. I do appreciate what he has produced, the world that they've come up with, and their reimaginings, for the most part, they do work. Do they mesh with the old one 100%? Of course they don't, because it's a reimagining, remember? Not a reboot. Kevin Smith tried to sell his bullshit as a reboot, and that's why he failed. All right, this reimagining is bold in that it just does what it does. You know, and I would not be mad at all if this is the He-Man of this generation. It's okay. And if they can go back and look at the old one, or we can show them the old one as parents or aunts and uncles and friends and stuff like that, so be it. But what they have here, yeah, there's not a lot to be mad at, guys. So let me know, guys, did you see this? Did you start looking at it? I'm probably about maybe 8 episodes in, which says a lot for me that I actually came back to look at this shit. But, you know, like I said, okay, I can deal with it. You know, I can deal with the changes and all that stuff because it's not disrespectful. It's not disrespectful to the source material, to me, and it's not disrespectful to the viewers. But you can be the judge. You can get in the comment section. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe. As always, you can catch me on Twitter. If not, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening, guys. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.